Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Amasid and today we're doing a different sort of video. Today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of my character. I've been receiving a lot of requests in the comments for POB, for just general explanation of what I'm running. So I thought it'd be nice to do just a relatively brief video showcasing my build and sort of what it's like and why I've made choices and what my gear is, etc, etc. So that way everybody can sort of take a look, and there'll be a link to the POB in the description so you all can see what I'm running. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right in. I want to preface this by saying this is not a build guide. I'm not saying, you know, walk through these points as you're leveling and do all this and copy me exactly and it's going to work great and all that. This is not that. I just wanted to show you guys my build, walk you through some of my gear and all that. So don't necessarily treat this as a guide. You can copy me if you'd like, but I don't want to make any guarantees that, you know, this is going to be, oh, you're going to be able to smelt Cyrus and, you know, tank beams and stuff like that. Like, this is, I don't want to say those sort of things. This is just to go through and I'll get into sort of my capabilities with this build so far and go ahead and explain all that. But okay, jumping right in. So as you can see, I am a Slayer Impale Cyclone guy. Relatively standard here, and I'll walk through my gear in a bit, but just pulling up POB. My DPS all in with flasks on and everything is just under 7 million. So it's a relatively strong Cyclone build. You know, I would say if you're looking at PoE Ninja, there's, you know, builds from 97 to 100 that range from about 1 million all the way up to 60 million. I'll explain why this build will never reach that, but at least my variation of the build. But essentially, it is a strong build, and with this amount of DPS, you really should be able to kill pretty much everything in the game. That being said, it is a melee build, so you know you can't be kind of lazy about it in the same way. You know, if you're playing like an EK or a stacker like I was last league, then you know, you can pretty much do whatever you want, and you don't have to worry, and you do tons and tons and tons of damage, and you have a huge effective health pool, and not need to worry. But this is a melee build. You know, you're gonna die. I die all the time. I'm not gonna pretend that I don't die. It's softcore. It's like, I don't personally have issues with this, but you know, if you really hate dying, probably melee might not be for you in general, but this build is tricky because when you're not leeching, you're very susceptible. So just walking through, as you can see here in my Ascendancy, I took what I would describe as a relatively standard path. I did Brutal Fervor into Endless Hunger. I think that the cannot be stunned while leeching and no bleeding is really strong. The overkill damage is obviously great, and sort of the attack speed is as well, but really the cannot be stunned while leeching is nice. It frees up your Pantheon, so you can take things like Solaris and Grethkol as opposed to having to take Brine King. So, and then over here I took Headsman. I know some people will take Bane of Legends over Endless Hunger. I don't personally like that, but so this is what I chose to do. I will say that I'm messing around with my passives all the time. This is something that I'm constantly changing. For example, like, a lot of Slayers don't take these points, but I kind of like these points. I've thought about potentially moving those 3 into Executioner, which is very strong, and I've been thinking more and more lately about trying that out because that 50% increased damage with hits against enemies that are low life is pretty nice, and the AoE effect is nice as well for clearing maps if you've killed recently, so that's nice. But I'm debating moving those points over. But I did take a relatively standard tree. I mean, I could probably drop a life point here and make some movements there, but for now, I'm relatively happy with this. And walking through my items, so I think it might be easy to visualize here. So my items are far from perfect. I'll probably be tabbing back and forth between POB and all that. Flasks quickly, relatively standard. I have a bubbling divine life flask. It's okay. You know, it's not like, oh wow, am I missing wow, I'm totally missing another mod on there. That's stupid. Well, okay, gotta update that. But Diamond Flask, just removing freeze just because that's important. This will probably be replaced with a Cinder Swallow at some point whenever I decide I'm willing to spend the money and get it. But it will be most likely. I'm sorry, not a Cinder Swallow. What's it called? The Consecrated Effect Flask from what the hell is Cortex? I can't remember the name of the flask, but I'll get one of those. Cinder Swallow I do have. It's a crit one. This is a huge flask. And frankly, I think that this is almost a necessity for this build. The amount of sustain you get for the 2% of life when you kill an enemy during flask effect is just incredible, as well as the crit chance is a huge DPS increase. So I highly recommend. And if you were to not have a reduced mana somewhere, like I have a chest here, then the mana is really important, or could be really important as well. So Lion's Roar pretty standard, and then a Quicksilver with Remove Burning. Now this could be Curse Reflect if you want to get burning somewhere else, maybe if you got burning here or something, but you need burning off just because frankly some of the burning Elder Guardian, I don't remember his name, he can kind of truck with burn damage, so you do need something, especially if you're going to be running bosses. So walking through the gear, so my sword is pretty solid. It's about an 840 DPS or PDPS sword, as I remember. Let me double check what it says in POB. Yeah, it's almost exactly 840 DPS. So it's a nice sword. To get anything better than this, like if I wanted to get a 900 PDPS sword, that'd be like a reasonable upgrade. It's going to cost me about 50x, and I'm not quite ready to start making that jump yet because I have a lot of other gear that's higher priority to get rid of, but I'll walk through that once I walk through all the other gear. So I have gloves, they're pretty decent, and these are certainly upgradable. There's much better gloves that you'll see on top Slayers, but these are okay for now. They cover a lot of my resistances, which is nice. Devoto is pretty standard. Obviously, that's not the right helm enchant. I want a Cyclone speed enchant, but as you can see here, if I were to keep, because I like the movement speed on Devotos for Cyclone, I think that Cyclone can feel kind of bad if it's too slow. So that 20% movement speed is nice, but 27x for a Cyclone speed helmet, it feels not great. So my neck certainly needs work, but this is a relatively standard neck. I allocated Fatal Blade, but it has some a nice PDPS roll on there, I believe. Yeah, it's T2, so obviously T1 would be nice, plus some other things, but that damage while leeching craft is pretty sweet. So my ring, this ring is probably one of my weakest pieces of gear besides maybe my jewels. It is a nice fizz roll, and you can craft attack speed, which is nice, but I'll go into my rings in a minute here, what I'm trying to switch, but this is not great and can certainly be better. This is actually a kind of a tricky ring, but you need vulnerability for this build. It's just like, that's the curse, unless, if I could get a ring with an assassin's mark or whatever, and I can get an extra curse on the chest, then that'd be nice. But for now, I just have the vulnerability, so lots of upgrades there. My boots are actually pretty nice. They're the wrong base, but they're pretty solid in general. It's 95 life plus almost 50 int, so some T1 reses there, or T1 res in fire, plus a solid lightning, and then 35% movement speed. These are pretty good boots. I think I picked these up for only 2x or something, 3x. They're nice. I wish they were an armor base, but they're not bad. And then Rislathas is pretty standard for this build. So getting into what I'm gonna change. So ideally, my chest here is decent. I actually skipped over this, but it's not bad. It has the socketed attacks have minus mana cost and crit. I really wanted to get an explodey chest though, because that's just such a feels good moment. So to do this, because you want Cyclone to cost no mana, and I believe Cyclone costs exactly 8 mana, that you need to get the mana enchant. So I'm building this ring here. This ring's not worth 125x, I don't think, but I just put it up there just in case someone were to pay this outlandish price. But this has got a T2 fizz roll on a steel ring with the minus 8 mana cost roll. So it's funny. I had this ring sitting here without the global crit, and it was uninfluenced, and I was like doing harvest, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I gotta slam something on here. I'm running out of space in my harvest. Let's just slam the ring. Who cares? Like, the base cost me, I think, 6x. It's worth more than that now. I think it's probably worth closer. Like before, just the base unslammed was roughly maybe 15x, 10 to 15x, somewhere in there. So I did get a good deal, but I was like, let's just do it. So I slammed it, and I hit Shaper, and then I slammed a crit one and hit T1 crit. So this is pretty sick. Ideally, I need to slam some life on there, maybe T1, T2 life, and then I do need some lightning res if I'm going to pop off this ring, and then I can get a speed enchant on there and just do a bunch of cool crafts and get something nice out of there. So this is a solid ring. I'm just working to craft it before I can really equip it. I could equip it now and maybe just like enchant lightning and take the L on life, but I'd rather have this be the way I want it to be before I commit to putting it on. But there's plenty of other upgrades. So again, the Devotos would be nice. I'd like to get, so once I get that ring, I can then put on an explodey chest, which would be really nice, and that's just going to make the build clear just feel amazing. I'm not willing to sack crit for that, which is, I could have done something like socket attacks at minus 15 mana cost, and also done the Explodey and sacked the crit, but that's not worth it. I'd rather have the crit and the Explodey, so I'm working on that. My gloves need significant work. I need to get either melee damage or attack speed on these, and then work on the resistances elsewhere maybe. I've thought about switching my Rislathas to an Elder Stygian Vise and messing with that, but there's so much room for upgrades on these. This is a solid Rislathas relative to rolls, but I have so many build upgrades here. We're just, I feel like we're not even started on this, and we're still at a solid 7 million DPS. So again, I can do, I'm not going to say this is like an instant. For example, my EK or a stacker last league was much stronger, and it's funny, EK or a stacking seems to still be on the table even despite the, what felt like 1,000 nerfs to it. So I thought about maybe going back. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this build for the rest of the league, but I enjoy it for now. And again, with this build, you're not going to be able to melt Shape or Cyrus like nothing. You have to focus a little bit. You pop your cooldowns, you get some Blood Rage up, you pop Ancestral War Chief twice, which is shown in the DPS there. Then it's truly a strong build. There's no doubt about it. I should mention that DPS is with including Ancestral War Chief. That's all in cooldowns pop DPS. It's strong. So without the Ancestral War Chief pop, I believe it's closer to like 5.5 million, which is still plenty to do all content of the game. I haven't done Maven yet. I haven't really tried. I haven't watched any videos. I kind of want to go in blind and figure things out myself, but there's plenty of room to do Maven in there. This should be more than enough. But again, you're playing melee. Like there's an inherent risk there that you don't have to deal with as a ranged character. If you're playing carry, if you're playing golems, you don't have that risk. But yeah, that's my build in a nutshell. Let me know if you guys like this sort of stuff. If I make more builds throughout the league, I'm happy to showcase my gear then. But yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to walk through what I'm doing here so people can get an idea. And maybe if you like this sort of build and you like Cyclone, I love Cyclone as a skill, then you'll try it out for yourself. It is fun. It is a really fun build, and it's fun to move through maps like this, just sort of blowing things up. And if I get Explodey chests, it'll be even more so. But anyway, that's all I got today. So please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I really appreciate all the support so far. Thank you guys. I'm so happy we got to 1,000 subs. I can't wait. I'm waiting to get the community tab so I can actually more directly communicate with everybody. But for now, I'll just have to communicate via video. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.